Hello and welcome. I'm Michael Marcinet, President and Founder of MRM EAM Consulting, and I'm joined by my colleague, Jazz Sidhu, Senior Maximo Consultant. Together, we're excited to introduce you to one of our Maximo Essential Accelerators, a collection of purpose-built tools designed to streamline your Maximo administration, boost productivity, and extend the value of your Maximo managed investment. In this episode, we're focusing on our inspection form generator. For many organizations that implemented Maximo before the introduction of inspections, significant effort was put into building detailed classification structures with specification attributes, often tied to job plans, job tasks, work orders, work order tasks, and even service requests and other ticket objects. The challenge is that there's no simple way to translate the investment into modern inspection forms. As a result, teams are either stuck maintaining outdated processes or forced to rebuild everything from the ground up. A costly, time-consuming, error-prone approach that leads to wasted effort, inconsistencies, and duplication. Today, we're going to show you how our accelerator closes that gap, empowering your administrators to modernize inspections more quickly, more accurately, and with greater efficiency. With that, Jazz, do you want to take us through the solution?
Definitely. Thanks, Mike. Before I go through the solution, you might be wondering, how do I know if this is going to be of use to me? How could our organization use this solution? If you're using classifications and specifications to ask questions, users are using these to fill out these specifications and giving you feedback in an inspection form-like manner, and you wanted to get into using inspection forms, we highly recommend this solution. It makes it so that you can convert your existing job plans that have classifications tied to them and converts those specifications into inspection form and inspection form questions. And it does it very easily just through one button. What this solution does is it'll create logical groupings from both the job plan classification and any classifications you have on your job tasks. It'll group those into inspection form groupings, and it'll transfer each of the specifications in any of these groupings into inspection form questions. And it'll maintain the consistency and accuracy of those questions. It'll use the same wording, it'll use the same type. So if you're using ALN or numeric with or without domains, it'll bring that over as well. Not only that, it'll also support date fields. If you're using date fields on your specifications, it'll bring that over as well. So the result, you're going to have a very efficient path to Maximo inspections that cut down on the manual rebuilds that Mike was mentioning. It'll minimize the risk of errors and it'll accelerate your adoption rate. All you have to do is click one button. Why don't I go jump right in and show you guys how this looks?
While Jazz is doing that, I want to bring up a job plan template for identifying the tasks and activities that a laborer would have to do for any kind of job. And again, in many cases, it's used for inspections. There could be for air handling units, life safety systems, pump, motor, crane inspections, operator rounds, transformer inspections, lots of different use cases in lots of different industries. So very powerful, and job plans is predominantly used in preventative maintenance work. We're not going to go through a scenario to any specific industry. We're going to use a very generic scenario and a fun scenario, or what we think is fun. And we're going to talk about barbecue Fridays. So at MRM EAM, we love to eat. We love our barbecue. This is not an inspection form we do, but Jazz is going to show us how this typically would work either at a job plan header level when a classification has a set of questions, or at the job plan task level. And again, we're going to have fun talking about barbecue Fridays. So Jazz, back to you.
Awesome. Thank you. So just to take a look at the job plan, you can see that a classification has been specified on the job plan itself, just at the parent level. And we'll just quickly jump into the classification just to take a quick look at the specs. Two quick questions. One is an ALN without a domain. One is an ALN with a domain. The first is just to indicate if you had any food allergies. The other one is if you're going to be eating inside or outside. Then we'll look at some tasks. We have our main course and we have our desserts or our ice cream. We're going to be having some ice cream today. On the main course, I'll just jump into the classification once again. You can see just two questions again. You got your main, you got your side dishes. Both of them have a domain. They're both ALN. And lastly, we got our dessert. So we got we're eating some ice cream. And so we have a number of questions. What flavor do you want to eat? What type of cone are you going to be using? And do you want any toppings? Do you want whipped cream as well? And then also the number of scoops. You can see that most of them are ALN with domain. You got one numeric without a domain. However, if this numeric had a domain, that would also be supported, as well as date fields also supported.
Also, unit of measure, because a lot of times companies will have unit of measure. Again, we mentioned transformer inspection. air handling unit inspection, you might measure flow rates or the size of the transformer. So unit of measure is also supported and will be put into the inspection form.
All right, awesome. So from here, I'm going to just click this button. It says create inspection form. And it's as simple as that. It just tells you inspection form 1070 has been created for this job plan. I'll click OK, and I'm all ready to go
Hold on, Jazz, do me a favor. Go back for 1 sec. I got a couple questions for you. You click that button, and in a matter of less than 2 seconds, I think it was even probably 1 second, an inspection form was created. So there was probably about 10, 12 questions in that inspection form. It was that quick?
It was that quick, that easy.
All right. So how do we handle if someone maybe already created that inspection form, or I'm creating inspection form and I maybe came back to this one? How do I make sure that I'm now not creating a duplicate of that same inspection form?
That's a good question. So we've thought of that, and we've even thought about a little bit more than that. So when you click this button a second time, it knows based off of the name, the inspection form with this job plan description has already been created. And so what it'll do is it'll prompt you saying an inspection form with this name already exists. Press yes if you want to create a revision of the form. Press OK to create a new inspection form, and press cancel to stop. I'll just go through an example of just clicking cancel. We can go back in and click OK after creating a brand new form. We can see an operation canceled by the user. This means that no additional inspection was generated. So if you're not sure, oh, I've already created this like a month ago, I forgot about it. Well, it's already there now. You can go back in, and let's say some inspection was already created with this name, but it's not associated to this job plan. You want to create another one. You can click OK and create a brand new one. Or if you've made changes on the specs and you want to get those changes reflected in your new inspection form, instead of going into the inspection form and doing all those steps manually, you can click yes. It'll create a new revision on that inspection form, and you can make any changes before you push it from pending revision to active. So I'll go ahead and click OK. It'll generate a second inspection form. Inspection form 1071 has been created from this job plan. We'll go take a look at both of them. We'll dive deeper into just one. I'm going to go ahead and refresh here so that, and we'll go to page 4. You could see this is 1070. This is the one that we created initially, and any other one you create is just going to append a number behind it saying this is the second one. However, if you create 100, it will cap you out. So hopefully you don't have to create 100 of the same inspection forms, but if that does happen, just give us a call and we can up that number for you. So I'll go ahead and jump into one of these and we could take a look at the questions. So you could see that each of it got broken down into 3 different groups. So you got your header group over here, which came from our job plan. It'll take the job plan description and put that over here. You have your task 1 and your task 2, and it just takes the description and makes that the header of your group. We'll open up each of these groups, and you can see each of the questions came over, and that includes if the question was required. That also includes the type of the question. So you could see that this is a single choice domain. It'll bring the question in. It'll also bring the domain that you were using. If you were not using a domain, so the second example over here was just a free text ALN field, you'll notice it's a text response. And you'll notice that it's not required because we didn't make it required. Some people might not have allergies, so we're not going to require this. You also have your numeric fields as well, like number of scoops. That comes in over here, single numeric entry. And it also brings in, if you had a numeric domain one, it would look very similar to the ALN domain ones, except instead of single choice domain for ALN, it would be single choice domain for your numerics. Same thing with date fields. It would just choose the date fields.
So Jazz, just to interrupt here quickly, right? Clicking that button, matter of seconds, it created this inspection form, groupings based on the job plan header, followed by the number of job plan tasks, followed by the number of questions. And I can see here that the order, so it's adhering to the sequencing that you have in the classification, specifically those attributes and that. Everything is done for you, again, in a matter of seconds. The time to value is very quick. At this point, Jazz or whoever can now start to administer or make changes, right? If these questions need to be grouped differently, you can do that. The key here is that the bulk of those questions have come across and no one had to copy, paste, determine if it's ALN. And I don't know if anyone's really actually took the time to create an inspection. When you're creating or multiple groupings, it takes time and the screen is really not conducive for that. So people are looking at alternatives. For those that have Maximo configured to have work orders or job plans with classifications, this really streamlines that process.
That goes both for order of the group as well as order of the questions. It looks at that sequence on your classification, but it also looks at the task sequence. We had our main course first and we had our dessert second. It orders that as well. And it'll always put anything on the parent of the job plan directly at the top. So it follows that natural order that Mike was talking about.
Just lastly, or not lastly, but other point before we get off of this page is, now that it's here, we can use the conditional forms. We can start to put conditional questions on or enhance this form, which really wasn't conducive in the old version. You can do the actions, so you can now define actions to create follow-up work orders. Traditionally, in the old way, using classifications, you'd have an automation script looking for specific attributes, looking for specific values. That takes away an administrator from having to maintain or create these automation scripts and put it into the hands of, I'll call it the power users or subject matter experts that would typically have access to creating these forms.
That's just one of the benefits of using inspection forms over classifications, because you have access to all these things. The different number of fields that you have, if you want to write in signatures and things like that, you have access to that. You couldn't do that in classifications, as well as all the different things that Mike mentioned as well. We'll go and just take a quick look at the inspection form and how it looks like. So I'll just go to preview over here. And you can see all the questions come in. You got your choices. You have your ALN fields. Going down over here, you have your single entry numeric field over here, and it looks exactly how we would expect. It has all our questions. It's asking us, do we want to eat our smoked brisket, barbecue ribs, pulled pork sandwich, grilled salmon? It has everything that the domain has. So it's pulling all of these options directly from the domain, making it such that you don't have to modify anything directly within the inspection form application as well. You can just manage everything off of the domains if that's how you were using your classifications as well. So it should be quite a seamless switch if you guys were using classifications before and you want to move over to inspections. And there's multiple additional benefits as well moving over to inspections, such as Maximo Mobile uses inspections out of the box, and other mobile solutions also would have inspections directly created, but there's not a lot of support of using the specs, class specs directly in a form matter like this.
Yeah, and that was usually, a lot of organizations that do that had to have third-party mobile solutions that they've had to configure and tailor to support that. Now, by putting in inspections, again, IBM Maximo Mobile supports that and other third-party mobile solutions. So there are some benefits to moving. Again, for those that are upgrading or maybe have upgraded to the latest version 9, this is something, maybe as part of that upgrade is a step that you can do as part of the upgrade or post upgrade. You can get it into the hands of the subject matter experts and allow them to configure those inspection forms versus having administrators to do those kinds of things. So with that, thank you for your time. I'm getting hungry. I can't wait for Barbecue Friday and maybe a little bit of smoked brisket, pulled pork sandwich, and it always goes good finishing it off with some ice cream. That is our solution around the inspection form generator. Hope you find that valuable. Reach out, and more than happy to talk to you and just show you or demonstrate the capabilities in its fullest. Thank you, and we'll talk soon.